And then when you do that for X amount of time, you can piggyback on that. And you'll already feel like you're investing in your health. But I do agree, in an ideal world, if I could only pick 3, it would be move your body for at least 30 minutes a day.
And so if we start there, the number one for me is just daily exercise. Some form of daily exercise, I think, builds a lot of self-esteem and it builds a lot of momentum. And more importantly, when I'm exercising, I get really good ideas.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. It was number 1204. You can't find the solution until you know the real problem. Today, for episode number 1205, 3 things you need to be doing in 2023. So I put up a post the other day, Alan, and I think it was a post. And I said, it was something like, if you focus on having good days, you'll have a really good year. And I think that a lot of us tend to overcomplicate yearly goals. I don't know, maybe I just have a weird understanding, but for me, it's like, it's just another day. I understand it suggests that a year is over and we're starting a new year and we have to measure things in a different way, but it's literally just another day in a series of days that you decided you were going to compartmentalize. So I was thinking, what can we do for an episode? And we try to break things into the simplest form, and we talk about 1% improvement every single day. So I said to Alan, why don't we do an episode on the 3 things you should be doing every single day in 2023? And he said, well, do you have them picked out? And I said, no, I think we should just have a conversation about, from our perspective, from our client's perspective, from what we've figured out, what are the best 3 things you should be doing every day? I also think 3 is a good number to start with. I could say, what are the 12 things you should be doing? But again, until you can do 3 things consistently, it's probably not the best idea to add another 3 and another 3 and then another 3.
Well, the concept here too is everything matters, but not everything matters equally. When it comes to habits, when it comes to any endeavor, any goal, there's a lot of things you can do to get better at basketball. There's a lot of things you can do to get better at podcasting. There's a lot of things you can do to get in better shape. There's a lot of things you can do to be better in your career, but not everything matters equally. So this is a really challenging episode, Kev, because if you were to ask me what are the top 3 things that our listeners need to focus on in 2023, I kind of can't answer that question because I don't know their specific goals and their specific circumstances. What I can do, however, is tell you from my experience what I believe to be some of the top leverage points that I think are pretty common amongst everyone. And so if we start there, the number one for me is just daily exercise. Some form of daily exercise, I think, builds a lot of self-esteem and it builds a lot of momentum. And more importantly, when I'm exercising, I get really good ideas. I'm in a state where I feel good about myself, the blood is flowing, and I think, and really cool thoughts come to me. And I think that at the end of the day, what I try to do with my clients is I try to take what is the number one source of their self-esteem and what's the most important habit to building their self-esteem. Let's start there. And usually, not always, but usually it has to do with fitness.
Interesting. See, for me, that one doesn't resonate with me. Maybe because I don't exercise every day. That's probably part of it. But I also think it is probably one of the most challenging things ever to exercise every single day. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't think that's sustainable for most humans.
Yeah.
But again, I do think it would be extremely beneficial. Even if you did, and again, I know you like the consistency, do the same thing, or at least somewhat of the same thing, but very, very similarly to what you were doing. Even if you did, just say it's 4 days on the Peloton and 3 days walking or whatever your form of that is, maybe it's not the same thing every day. Because in my mind, it's like, there's no way I can train heavy 7 days a week. There's no possible way.
Of course. Same.
But there's no reason
I don't do.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's no reason I couldn't walk on Saturday and Sunday or whatever. So I do think that's a really good one. I think it's a hard thing to start. It's a hard mountain to look up at for many people.
Well, let's make it as easy as possible. I think you can start with 20 minutes.
Yeah.
and then maybe 25 eventually, and then maybe 30. I want to share a quick story. So one of the team members, her name's Amy Lenius, and she struggled with exercise for the longest time. And I said, I think you're probably making it too complicated. Whereas if you break it down into a small enough chunk and you say, okay, this is what it counts. Yoga counts. Anything where you're consistently moving your body. Even yoga, count it. It doesn't have to be a perfect workout. You don't have to have a perfect outfit. It doesn't have to be in an actual gym. You just have to move your body for 30 minutes a day. Once that perfection thing went away, she was actually able to do it. Now she's on 140 something days, and she's lost 8.6 pounds last time we checked in the tracker. But for the longest time, she didn't consistently exercise. I think one of the reasons is just making it this big thing that needs to go perfectly. I can't even tell you, I just came up on 305 days, but a lot of those days have been like a walk with Tucker or a walk in the rain or whatever. If I couldn't just do it easily with a walk, there's no way. Because let's say it's 11 p.m., I was working late, or after a relationship talks event or whatever, Emilia will literally say, like, I know we still haven't exercised. Like, we're going to do a walk with Tucker tonight, right? Like, we're not going to go to the gym at 11 at night and then wake up late and then screw up our next day. Like, a quick half-hour walk with Tucker. We set our timer, and sometimes we go over. Sometimes, literally, the moment that Apple Watch goes off, we're, like, back in the door. Like, done. You know? So, I think just make the mountain into a molehill and make sure you're consistent. I think the consistency piece is the most important. And then I think you can build it if you want. Like right now I'm doing 45 minutes a day, but 45 minutes weight training. But when we do walks, we only do a half hour still. So I'm kind of like evolving it as we go, but the minimum is a half hour. I actually have to cut it at 45 because I know I won't go the next day if I do an hour and 15 or whatever.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because my natural tendency when people ask me, I always say, start weighing yourself. The reason I say that is for awareness, but there is really no substitute for moving your body. That's the problem. It's like, yeah, that's under health, weighing yourself, but it's not the same, right? It's not, but it also is super simple. That's why I always say that. Like, well, at least it'll give you the awareness to understand what's happening. And then when you do that for X amount of time, you can piggyback on that and you'll already feel like you're investing in your health. But I do agree, in an ideal world, if I could only pick 3, it would be move your body for at least 30 minutes a day. I think that's good. That's good for me too, because I think that I stayed away from yoga because I was like, yeah, it doesn't really count as exercise. But at the end of the day, you can make your own playbook.
Yeah, you make your own rule book. Yeah, so of course. And again, I don't count yoga as exercise either because I want to be doing that in addition. Yeah. But I think that if some people want to count that at the beginning, I think they should.
I probably would, because anytime I exercise, I do mobility, like specific mobility, and I would just like try to do a harder yoga session.
Yeah. Some of those are very humbling.
Yeah, no, all of them. Yeah. Every one I've ever done has been humbling. Yeah. It didn't look like it was going to be.
Shout out to Yoga with Adrian.
Yoga with Adrian. That's an old school one. All right. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good number 1 under health. For easy under wealth. So we're health, wealth, life, and love. Wealth, track your finances. Mm-hmm. You got to be tracking your finances every single day. Easy to do. Going to bring you an incredible amount of awareness. And you might have the moment, we did this episode when we were still in the studio, where I tracked so Tara and I were getting food delivery, a company called Freshly, not sponsored. And I spent $600 in 1 month on food. And that was just groceries. And then there was probably like another $300 or $400 in takeout. And I remember saying to you, oh my God, that's where all my money's going. Okay, cool, good to know. I would never have known that if I wasn't tracking my finances. So number 2 for me is simple. I don't know if it's because I do it every day and I'm in charge of the money, but if you are not tracking your finances, it's a great thing to start doing. No, yeah, it can be challenging. I mean, it can be challenging for you to say, you know what, I'm broke. I don't want to see the number. I understand completely. But when we hide from something, we don't have control over that thing. And I can tell you over the last 6 years, however long this journey has been, tracking finances is probably the most important thing I've done. And you forced me to do it. And I hated you for it. But now I love you for it.
Which is a lot of what this journey has
Almost
gone.
All of it.
Actually. Almost all of it, yeah. And track my habits? Absolutely not. That's the
Damn
worst
no.
thing ever. And then 3 years later, this is the best thing ever. So Kev, you've been pretty much as broke as a human can be, within reason.
They let you
Within
go right
reason.
by zero. The credit card companies, they'll let you fly right by zero.
Kev floated
care.
right by zero.
Yeah, they don't care.
In the hole quite a bit. Several tens of thousands of dollars in the hole.
I think it was 30, I don't know, 35.
35 thou.
Yeah.
35 thou in the hole. Okay? Credit cards. Now, that's not a good place for anyone to be in.
No.
Fair? Fair assessment?
Fair assessment.
Okay. So Kevin is speaking from experience. Now that things are going much better, a lot of times when people listen to podcasts, a lot of times these podcasters that are on the very tail end of the compound effect, they've been doing it for decades. We were watching a video earlier of Gary Vaynerchuk during his 1000th Wine Library episode, and it's crazy to see how poor, I'm just going to say it, I don't think he was a strong speaker when he was 1,000 in. And I asked Kev how long ago was his 1000th Wine Library TV YouTube channel he had a long time ago. Kev said 11 years ago?
I think it was 2011.
Yeah, 2011. I mean, if you think about it, like I didn't know Gary Vaynerchuk in 2011. I don't think most people probably didn't. You know what I mean? I do remember someone in college in 2009 was watching Wine Library.
Interesting.
Pat, my friend Pat. But anyways, here's my point. A lot of times the Gary V's of the world are already way, way, way in the compound effect. So they kind of lose sight of what it's like to be broke. Kevin and I are on our way to not being broke anymore, which I'm so grateful and I'm so blessed and I feel amazing about that. But I think, Kev, you and I have been broke within the last 4 years, so we can still speak to it pretty intelligently here. For you at one point hated the idea of tracking finances every day, and now you swear by it. Literally, you're recommending it to our audience. What has your experience been from when you first started doing it to now? And why is it so critical? Because, I think you just have a perspective that people need to hear.
I just think for most of us, awareness creates necessity. And when you have necessity, you do things differently. I mean, it's just, if you can get to the point where you know that the coffee that you get at your coffee shop, whatever that is, whatever your preference for a coffee shop is, costs $4.71. And then you figure out, I get that 5 times a week. All right, that's $23, $22, whatever it is. That's just say $20 a week. Multiply that by 52. That's $1,000. Like that's a down payment on a car. That's a lot of things, right? That's, going to an event, that's 50 books. That's like so many things that could be. At least you have the awareness, and with the awareness, you can make a different decision. It's that, and if you're not seeing the fact that you're spending $15.49 on Netflix and $74.99 or $64.99 on YouTube TV, and for a while when I lived in Massachusetts, I was paying for a car wash. It was like you could go to the car wash as many times as you want. I think that was $19.99 a month. Those numbers really start to add up. They really start to add up. And so the other day, Tara and I have this running joke. She accidentally bought stuff from Target on my card. Never would have known that if I wasn't tracking the finances. I never would have known that. And she didn't mean to do it. It's a running joke we have.
Of course.
But you just don't know. Then the other interesting thing is when we look back at the end of the year or the beginning of the next year, we can say, okay, we spent X amount of dollars on this. We spent X amount of dollars on this. We spent X amount of dollars on this. It just gives you an awareness. And when you have a high level of awareness, you can make a better quality decision. And I just think that's all it's really done for me. I'm not scared to check finances anymore like I was for a long time because, again, the numbers were very, very, very low. But it's almost more important that you do it then because that's when you need to make the different decisions. It's almost like if you're hurting financially, you've waited too long to track because you probably didn't have the awareness or you ran from the awareness. So yeah, I think it's awareness. Awareness gives you an opportunity for necessity that you would never have otherwise.
I'm Derek Smith, and I just wanted to talk to you real quick about group coaching. I found it to be very beneficial. The biggest thing that I got from it was definitely the tap out and keeping track of the daily habits. It's much easier to get these priorities done when it's scheduled. That way you know that you're doing them first compared to trying to fit them in later. So scheduling it and getting that done first, and then having something accountable every single day to do those was definitely beneficial. So if you're thinking about giving group coaching a chance, you should definitely do it.
What you measure, and it's just like stepping on the scale as well, what you measure, you pay attention to.
Yeah.
Emilia and I, we have these Oura rings, and every single morning, we compare sleep scores. So last night I had an 84, she had an 89, but we guessed before she sends it. So before she sends it, I was like, I think you have a 93. Her personal best is a 92. And this morning she was sleeping for so long. We were joking. She was in a coma, joking. And Tucker and Tariel need to go out in the morning. So it's like almost 10 a.m. and you and I are supposed to be on the mics. And so I'm like, I don't want to wake her up, but I also need my office, and Tucker's crate is in my office, right? And so I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to wake them up. And then they immediately want to go see their mom. And so anyways, we every single day are tracking our sleep. And I'm telling you, from the moment we got these Oura rings to now, we have slept way better. We've slept way better. I had an 84 yesterday sleep score, which is very, very good. It's not perfect, but it's like 8 quality hours of sleep. And I can tell a difference. And the point I'm making here is that whether it's finances or it's tracking your weight or it's tracking your sleep, whatever it is for you, measure the thing you want to succeed at. Tracking your finances, tracking your habits, tracking your weight. You're kind of not going to succeed at a high level if you don't track the thing. I know this sounds overly simplistic, but think about a professional athlete that doesn't track their stats at all. Like, why do you think all these sports channels and all these athletes all have coaches and assistant coaches and defensive coaches and offensive coaches? And, it's because they're all tracking their stats. Back when you played baseball, you remember your stats, right? What was your best batting average?
I don't remember that specifically. It was different back then because it wasn't there weren't as many stats when I started playing baseball.
What was the important stat for your position?
A batting average, stolen bases. That was like the top.
What was the one you cared about most?
Again, when I was younger, you didn't really know because some of the coaches didn't track it. And you're 12 years old. I'm not thinking about that. Like, I wouldn't even know how to do that probably. Number of at-bats versus number of hits. Like, it's hard to...
But in the pros, they track all of that.
Of course. They track too many stats.
That's why. Yeah. That's right. I mean, I know that in terms of actuarial mathematics, that was a major in college.
Excuse me.
And one of the best jobs you can get as an actuarial mathematician is statistics in sports. Like, they have statisticians running these things all the time to try to figure out what players are best. And, how do you evaluate a player's worth? You have to look at their stats, their track record, right? So anyways, what you measure, you improve. And these sports teams that want to get better, they know that. So, track your finances, essentially, is what I'm saying.
So we have health and we have wealth. What would yours be under love? One habit.
Gratitudes.
Yeah,
hands down. This is such a good habit to do consistently that we stopped doing it. So we did it. Kevin and I have a joke. It works so well, we decided to stop doing it. 200 days or so in a row with Emilia when we first got together. Not 200 days, I'm sorry, 2 years. The first 2 years we did it every single night. We used to audio and text before bed because we didn't live together yet. And then for like 6 months, we just stopped. And it was humbling because it was like, are we being less grateful? Have we been being less grateful? Yes, definitely. Now it's every single time before bed. There have been a few times where we fell asleep and then in the morning I texted her or whatever for her to read when she starts her day. But I'm telling you, 3 gratitudes for your partner before bed is a game changer. It is so important. So important. Start with 1. If 3 is overwhelming, just start with 1. Hey, I'm really grateful that you did the dishes today. Hey, I'm really grateful that you put rice in the rice cooker today. Like anything. It can be, some of them are really simple. I mean, like, I really loved your outfit in the gym today. Like, whatever it is, you know?
Yeah. I would say that's the biggest one for sure. That's the biggest one for sure. Now, if you're riding solo and you don't have a partner, you can write 3 things you're grateful for about yourself, about your life, about your job, about your family, about the world, about where you are, whatever. Either way. And it's so interesting, Alan, because if I think if I heard an episode like this 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I probably would have said, that's not going to do that much. Like, that's it. Those 3 things. I mean, the exercise thing. Yeah, that's a given. If you can exercise, if you can move your body every day for a year, some really good things are going to happen there. But even if I heard the track your finances thing, it's like not that much changes day to day in my head. And the gratitude thing, it's like 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things a night.
Well, how do we convince, I know we got to go, but how do we convince the long-term value? Because none of those 3 are quick fixes.
I really think it's the post that I put up the other night. If you want to have a good year, focus on having good days. That's it. We say, you know what? It's a new year. I'm going to start all this stuff. Don't worry about the year. Worry about the day.
100%.
Just make sure today's successful. If you have a successful day every day, you're going to have a successful year.
100%.
That's what I like to think of. And even if we use the sports analogy, it's like, don't worry about having a successful career. Worry about having a successful game. Because that's how you're going to have now, obviously, you have to have the vision too. But just for this analogy, I think that's the way to look at it. If you hear this episode on, what's today, Monday? Tuesday. If you hear this episode on Tuesday and you start doing this on Wednesday, just see what happens and see how long you can do it for. Seriously. If it sounds too simple, try to do it every day. That's a great way to look at it.
Now that you're 6 years or 5 years into tracking these kinds of things, having once been one of the very people who didn't think it would make a difference.
Yeah.
How do you get someone to understand the compound effect of this? Because very little is actually doable in a short period of time. Like, there's very little that Emilia and I were talking last night on the way home from the gym, and some of the New Year's people are in the gym, and we had this moment, Kev. I want to share this quickly. There are some people in our gym that are going way too hard out of the gate. I can see it. They're new gym goers. And they are on the treadmill just running and breaking a huge sweat and I'm over there walking, right? And I'm foam rolling and I'm doing my thing. And I did get a good weight training workout too. But I had a moment where I'm like, you guys are going to be in trouble. You can't sustain this, you know? And good for you. I'm grateful you're here. Seriously. Like, there was a couple people in there that were very overweight that I was grateful they were there. Like, go you, like, crush it. But there was a part of me that knew, like, you're not going to be here in a month. Because you're trying to run 10 miles today. That's such a mistake. Don't try to run 10 miles today. I have a dear friend of mine who was like an all-star football player. And he played in college and he does 1 mile a day. He's consistent as hell, but he doesn't go past 1 mile. He does 1 mile a day. 1 mile a day will change your life. 1 10-mile day won't do anything. If anything, it'll just crush your self-esteem because you can't be consistent again. Consistency is my favorite thing in the world. It's the most important piece of anything. Like, you know, if you look at anyone who's achieved any great result, it's always through consistency. Even if it's playing video games, they always played a ton. You're never going to see a pro gamer who's like, I dabbled.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think it's the understanding is it's a brick by brick. You just have to put up a brick today, and the brick is those 3 habits. And this is the other interesting thing too, and I think it takes the perspective. But there's the Jim Rohn quote: "In 5 years, you'll arrive." Right? It's whatever. Are you choosing whatever the hell the quote is? This is my quote. In this year, a lot is going to change for you, but it's not necessarily going to be a change for good unless you decide that things are going to change. I'm of that realization now that things are going to change this year. No matter what, that's just the way it works. I will make more friends and I will lose some friends. I will make more money and I will lose some money. I will gain some weight and then I'll lose some weight. But if I decide, well, this is how I want it to change, and I focus on that a little bit every day, I think that's really the understanding. This year is going to change a lot for you, some positive and some negative. But if you're leaving that up to chance and not choice, it's probably not going to be in the way you want it to unless it's luck. I mean, yeah, you might get a raise and maybe you'll make more money, but you can technically make more money by saving more money. I mean, that's one way to do it. Now, again, I know not everybody's buying $4 coffees every day and they're in a different circumstance, but I'm trying to speak to as many people as possible at once, which is always a challenge. It's that. It really is that. Focus on having successful days and you'll have a really successful year. But you're not going to really figure that out until 4, 5, 6 months in. The first month, you're not really going to accomplish much.
Yeah, you're not going to see much of a difference.
Right. Even the first 2 months, like, yeah, you might start to see some stuff, but it has to be, you know what? I had a really successful day. I had a really successful day. I had a really successful week. Cool. I had a really successful week. Then guess what? You have a week and a day, and then a week and 2 days, then a week and 3 days. Then you have 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks and a day. And at that, it's not a lot is going to change in a day, but nothing will change if you don't start with a day. That's my quote of the episode.
Focus on having a successful day. And those days lead to weeks and months and years and decades. There's a successful life. Yeah. Fire. One of my favorite concepts in the world.
I know that. I knew you'd be fired up. We're doing a meetup on this. Tell the audience about the meetup because you named it and I don't even know what we're teaching. So I can't.
Okay. Essentially, what happens with people is they feel like they don't have a lot of clarity. And I actually opened this episode talking about this concept of it's very difficult to pick 3 things that apply to everyone equally because we all have different goals. If you want to be, a build muscle as a bodybuilder, that's the 3 habits that you do is going to be very different than if you want to be a marathoner. Because what's best for bodybuilding is definitely not what's best for marathoners. And so the analogy here is come to the meetup, set some goals that are custom and specific to you for 2023 so that you actually can figure out what those 3 things are. Kevin and I gave you 3 that are very generic and pretty much will help anyone succeed at a higher holistic level. But a lot of people set goals that are the wrong goals, and then it ends up crushing their self-esteem. This meetup is about self-assessing, where your self-belief is, where's your self-worth, how do we start with the right size goals in the right direction for you specifically so that you can actually build belief and self-esteem along the way rather than do what a lot of people I saw at the gym doing yesterday, which is trying to do 10 miles the first day and then not going the next day because it's just too painful. It's too much. Not sustainable. So that's what the monthly meetup is about, and we hope to see you there. The link to register will be in the show notes. We actually already have 19 people registered, so please join us. There's no obligation. If you're intimidated or scared, you don't have to put your camera on or your microphone on. You can literally just listen in. I get that question all the time. Like, do I have to participate? Absolutely not. We want you to. But if you don't, there's no guilt or shame for that. Just we want as many people to join in as possible. And who knows, maybe eventually you will participate. We do these every month.
Take the right amount of action on your belief and where your level of discomfort is. Like, how far outside of the comfort zone are you? Maybe you just push it a little bit more. Maybe for you, that's just showing up with no camera. No worries. We'll be there every single month, like Alan said. The Next Level Nation, I want to give a shout out to all the members of group number 9. So as you know, if you're listening to this tonight, group coaching actually starts. You're listening to this on Tuesday. So shout out to everybody. The group is fully filled. We have a wonderful group. We're excited. If you missed out on this one, which I know many people did, please feel free to reach out to Alan and or myself. And I'm sure in the very near future, we'll have the round 10 page up and running. So that'll be an intention for us.
Yeah. If you are interested, sorry, brother.
No, you're
if
good.
you are interested in group 10, let us know immediately. We actually had a lot of people that wanted to be a part of group 9 that weren't able to. It's actually getting really nice. These groups are filling up much quicker, and we're very specific with the groups to make sure that we're reaching out to people who we actually think would be a good fit. If you're eager to improve and you didn't get in group 9, please reach out to Kevin or myself. We'll immediately put you on the warm list. We have a specific warm list for group 10, and by warm we mean people that are eager to join the group. So it's a waiting list. Just message us. We will promise to put you on that list, and you'll be the first one to get a message when we are filling group 10.
Boom. Next Level Nation, tomorrow for episode number 1206. What would make you proud of you? I realize that I think when people are doing their year-end wrap-ups, they look back and they really connect with the stuff that made them the most proud. And I think that's a good practice, but we got to figure out what's going to make you actually proud of yourself. Wonderful episode, Jeff.
Strong
As
work.
always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. Happy New Year. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
And we'll see you at the next level.